Legal analyst Mike Davis joins us now, along with Monica Crowley, also here in the studio. Good to have you guys. Mike, did the Trump team effectively dismantle this prosecution as well as they claim they did?
Yeah, absolutely. Alvin, Bragg, and Matthew Colangelo do not have a case. They haven't even told President Trump, the criminal defendant, what the legal allegations are after this case has concluded. He doesn't even know what law he allegedly broke in this case. And even if everything that the prosecutor alleges is true, there's no crime. It is not a crime for a businessman to settle a nuisance claim. It is not a crime to put a legal expense in your private books as a legal expense. And it's certainly not a campaign finance violation to book that in your private books in 2017, and somehow that affected the 2016 election.
Yeah, and it seems like from what we learned today as they discuss how the jury's going to handle this is that Judge Merchan is trying to make it, as easy as it can for them to find a way to convict here. From what I read about the jury instructions, there's a lot of minutia to that. But Monica, widening out, we're stuck in the details, right? The little tiny details of this case. Most people aren't. And most polls show that people don't even, no matter what the outcome is, people don't think this should have been a case that was brought because it is so ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, whether it's in the courtroom or in the court of public opinion, the prosecutors, the Soros DA in this case, Department of Justice, they have not made their case to the public. They've not produced evidence. They have not produced that there was even a crime. As Mike said, they haven't even named the crime. So the American public are sitting there saying, Donald Trump is sitting in a freezing courtroom in Lower Manhattan for what exactly? And when you add that to the fact that the DOJ and then all of these Soros DAs, you got Fani Willis in Georgia, et cetera, that they have brought 4 cases with 91 counts against the former president. The only thing he ever wanted to do was make America great again. That is his big crime. They're looking at all of these cases put together and they're saying, wait a minute, this massive pile-on, for what reason exactly? Yeah. And then the people who know a little bit more, Rob and Mike, are starting to figure out that the regime is actually prosecuting Donald Trump for the regime's crimes, Barack Obama's crimes, Hillary Clinton's crimes, Joe Biden's crimes, and Donald Trump is standing in the breach.
Yeah. And I keep going back to the Cohen part of it. He stole all this money, and they're like, well, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to let that go, and we're going to focus on what we need to do here because it was a political hit job. Mike, Robert Costello, who was once Cohen's attorney, assailed the prosecutor's case. Also let the judge know. I think Costello sat in there and basically showed the judge, hey, I know you're a fraud, and you know you are too. I mean, the judge got so ticked off at this guy. At what point yesterday he said, are you staring me down right now? Costello responded with, I'm not. And then Merchan just lost it and yelled at him to get out of the courtroom now. Get out of the courtroom. Costello clearly hit a nerve, and the judge lost it.
That's amazing. This judge wants decorum in this courtroom after he let Stormy Daniels, a porn star, come in and change her story again and give the most salacious, irrelevant, and highly prejudicial details imaginable in a criminal case.
Yeah, and then at the same time they wouldn't allow, Trump to explain, or for them to explain that there's nothing wrong with the hush money payment. They're not going to allow that to be re-emphasized in the jury instructions that there's nothing wrong with the hush money payment. So every single complaint that comes through, Merchan dictates it one way or the other, depending on what's best for the prosecution.
They've actually silenced the people telling the truth.
Yeah.
They put a gag order on President Trump, and he's trying to silence Bob Costello, right? And the number of other Trump witnesses. They're to be silenced, but the porn star and the convicted perjurer and disbarred lawyer, they can talk all day long.
It's amazing. Monica, I got one more for you. Switching topics for a second. We have Biden's Department of Energy announcing today they're selling 1 million barrels of oil from the Northeast Gas Supply Reserve. This is while they're blocking drilling and fracking in the U.S. This is the reserves for national emergencies, and it's being used because they have a political emergency. They need to somehow make cost of living better so that they can win an election. How awful is this?
And by the way, this is a political emergency that they themselves created by their war for the last 3.5 years on fossil fuels, driving up the cost of energy across the board and helping to drive up inflation in addition to all of their spending. So they created this crisis. This is the second time that Joe Biden is doing this, tapping into the National Petroleum Reserve to try to bring down prices in an artificial way, not according to the market, but trying to flood the market with this kind of reserve that is meant for actual national security emergencies. God forbid we actually have one. We will have no energy reserves to draw upon. But again, this is the second time he's done it. Later today, President Trump actually put on Truth Social this story with one word: disgusting. Yeah. This is actually borderline treasonous behavior, if not straight up treasonous behavior. You do not put America's national security at risk or America's economic security at risk for your own political purposes. Yeah. Can you imagine if Donald Trump had done this? This would have been the 18th impeachment of Donald Trump. And yet Joe Biden is doing it for his own reasons.
They do it at the border. They do it in every way. They waffle on every topic. It's a horrible administration. Monica Crowley, thank you so much. Mike Davis, good to see you, sir. We appreciate it.